Good morning, all you folks out there in YouTube land. Thrash Pondo here, and I promised you folks new content this week. And as we're going to run out of week before I run out of content, yeah, I get about four projects that I'm trying to get to you folks this week. I figure I had better start both toot and or sweet. And I figured I would start with as my ongoing tribute of the late great James Earl Jones. I decided I had to give you one of his biggest, most epic films, and that is 1985 City Limits. Okay, perhaps not quite his biggest or his most epic, but a lot of fun, and I had to do it. Yeah, anyone can do Doctor Strangelove. But anyway, here's the situation. It's a 1985 film, and it's part of that whole 80s post-apocalyptic boom that so many sci-fi buffs, myself included, thoroughly enjoyed. And I caught this film almost by accident. I think my Blockbuster had it on the nobody's recommendation list, which made me gravitate to it. And it's actually kind of slick. It's sort of it goes the whole post-apocalyptic slash Lord of the Flies route. That is to say, they want to take the grown-ups out of the picture so they can have a lot of like really cool young people running around having adventures, and that's what this film is. We find out through an expositional scene, which actually comes in about a third of the way into the movie, from Mr. Jones. Plague had wiped out most of, not all, most of the adults. James Earl Jones being one of the few grown-ups still alive, and most of the children, of course, died from exposure, neglect, that type of thing, but a number of them survived and created this whole society. I guess you'd say a society of street kids. Um, a really neat premise, not executed quite as well as it should have been, but a really neat premise. And it's basically the story of this one kid played by John Stockwell, who was raised by James Earl Jones, and then for some reason, not fully understood, James Earl Jones doesn't give him the boot, but tells him to go out and fight adventures because that's what you want to do in a post-apocalyptic world. If you've already found your food, water, shelter, security, you want to abandon all that and go out into the world and see what falls your way. But anyway, that's what this kid does, and it's funny because he goes out, and the first thing he does is he hooks up with this young lady. And swear to God, I think the only reason they got her is because she agreed to do a semi-nude scene. Because he hooks up with her for a while. They do this scene where they're swimming in a water tank, and then for reasons never fully explained, he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna take off now, bye." And she's kind of like, "Ah." And he goes, "Yes, I'm gonna go join this biker gang in old LA called the Clippers." And it's never even fully revealed how he knew the Clippers even existed. But that's what he does, and he goes to LA and he finds the group called the Clippers. And while he's looking for the Clippers, he runs afoul of another rival group called the DAs. The LA Clippers and the LA DA. Clippers, I get, but did the filmmaker have trouble with the legal system and the DA became the bad guy? But anyway, you got the Clippers on one side, and you got the DAs on the other, and then you have this third group, which are basically the sort of neo wave of. Well, I'll get to them in a second. The cool thing is when Mr. Stockwell's joining his gang again, he runs afoul of the other gang, and they have a little Rumble-esque situation. And we find what the kids have done is they have created a new society, and they based it on comic books. Yes, as children, I don't know if they still read comics now. I think they do. They have the internet. They have their phones. But in the good old days, us kids read comic books, and what they do is they use the lessons you learned in comics, because comic books were always, always, always very preachy and message heavy. And so what these kids have done is they create a society based on the canon of these comics, and that I think is a great premise. Where it kind of and a lot of people on the interweb have agreed with this one. Where it falls short is that seemed to work great, But what they do is they bring in, they try to make it all about corporate greed and that whole greed is good mentality of the 80s and do like an anti establishment thing. And what they do is they have this sort of new age corporate giant come in and take over the city. And initially, it's under the guise of restoring essential services. But what they want to do is they want to recruit all the surviving kids as slaves. And here I find it less successful. It also does something that I found it's in the interest of continuity. It opens up halfway through the action, and the rest of the story is told in flashback. Hence the need for James Earl Jones' opening uh, expositional monologue and further narrations therein. And sometimes that's great. Sometimes starting knee deep in action and then building up to it works. In this case, it didn't. It was almost like, I guess, honestly, I think they just found that the movie wasn't really well paced. And they thought that this might actually give it some a gimmicky sort of uh, interest. I thought, if anything, it took away from it a little. And again, they never fully established how he knew the Clippers. But it's a fun film. It's very slick. It's very reminiscent of stuff you would see on USA Up All Night at the time. It's got a great cast. In addition to John Stockwell, who the stars kind of fell on him back in '85. In addition to this film, he was also in one of my other favorite post-apocalyptic adventure farces, Radioactive Dreams. He was also in North and South, an amazing docudrama soap opera set in the Civil War. And he also stars in my science project, which, eh, but it was a big film at the time. Additionally, Kim Cattrall's in it. She plays a sort of robber baron with a heart of gold. She's working for this new corporation. Radon Chung plays a biker, and she's always amazing at whatever she does. And Robbie Benson is a sort of director of the this new corporation, and you could tell this was a cash grab for him. He looks like he's bored out of his mind while he's doing this film. Even in his big climactic death scene, spoiler alert, yes, he does get killed. In this big climactic death scene, it's almost like he's losing interest while he's giving his speech. And it's supposed to be this whole like from on the waterfront with a Johnny Friendly was like, "You'll never get rid of me. I'll be back." But he delivers it with this sort of, "Yeah, he'll just be someone else." And just yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry, Mr. Benson. You could tell it was a cash grab for you. The one person who doesn't do this just for the paycheck, or at least he acts like he was actually um being a professional, is James Earl Jones. And here's where we came in. James Earl Jones plays his character like he wanted to be nominated for an Oscar. He really gives it some oomph and some energy. And you know what? Even if he was doing it just for the paycheck, he's not acting like he does. And it's funny because the whole movie has this sort of sappy, feel good, happy ending. Especially sappy considering it's a post apocalyptic film. And he's delivering this whole thing. And so the two groups learn to work together and create a world of harmony and beauty. It's like, ah. And how he managed to say this with a straight face, granted, you couldn't see his face, it was just done in audio. But he delivers the speech as though it was, Henry V. So, again, you got to give it to Mr. Jones. I applaud your professionalism. And again, much as this film can very easily be lampooned, speaking of which, it's actually done as a version of MST3K, which I highly recommend. It's on YouTube. Hint, hint. Find the MST3K version if you care to. They have the non MST3K as well, but find the MST3K version. It's more fun. And watch their lampooning of it. They trim a little bit here and there. I didn't notice. But it actually still holds water. And little fun fact I found in doing my research: uh, Crow does a torch song for Kim Cattrall in one of the commercial bumpers And it's, of course, very, very silly and schlocky, but heartfelt. The story goes Kim Cattrall actually sent flowers to the set of MST3K, thanking them for this very touching musical tribute. And it's funny because Trace Ballou supposedly thanked her and said, "You're welcome for the for the kudos." And she said, "Oh, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to Crow." And this is just way, way, way too silly to not be true. So yeah, much lampooned but much fun to watch. City Limits, again, James Earl Jones, and I have more. I have more tributes for James Earl Jones planned in the not too distant future. Oh, little secret. Unrelated side note: a lot of you folks really, really dug what I did with my top 10 forgotten song lyrics, where I made it the misheard song lyrics. A lot of you folks really enjoyed that. I've come up with another one which hopefully I will have for you before the end of this week. But for now, I shall leave you with this. Um, please check out the rest of my posts. I've I like what I've done, but also I've been sharing a number of great posts by friends of my channel, all of whom I think you will thoroughly enjoy. So again, check out my content channel. Please like if you haven't, subscribe if you haven't as yet, and follow and share. Share to your friends and or enemies. And until my next content piece, be good, be safe, be careful, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.